Success shouldn't feel this exhausting. If you're winning on paper, but burning out behind the scenes, you aren't failing. You're stuck in a psychological bottleneck called a hurdle of stop. I've been there. On the outside, things look great, but I was secretly burning out, convinced I was just lucky, and waiting to be exposed as a fraud. I realized I didn't have a business problem. I had a mindset block. Whether it's imposter syndrome, perfectionism, or fear or failure, these aren't just feelings. They are growth bottlenecks. Identify your specific hurdle and get one immediate action step to regain your momentum today. Go to tuepodcast.net/quiz. That's tuepodcast.net/quiz to take the 3-minute assessment and get your report now. Salutations, School Believer. Do you have a dream of becoming an entrepreneur, but don't know where to start or even what to do? Where can I gather information quickly about what's in my zone of genius? Don't worry, School Believers. I got you covered. Go to tuepodcast.net/AI prompt and check out an amazing set of AI prompts that will give you ideas, information, and articles to help you get across that start line. Once again, go to tuepodcast.net/AI prompt to get you started now. Good luck, School Believer. Hello there, School Believer. Hey, if you're anything like me, I am just so tired of going from screen to screen to screen, trying to figure out my analytics for all of my social medias and trying to figure out where I can put any and all my energies to get as much reach as I can. Well, I think I've finally found the solution. Elementary analytics. That's right, elementary analytics. Now, at a single press of a button, I can see all my social media analytics from Google to Twitter to Facebook, all my important information all on one screen. All on one screen. Can you believe it? And if you really needed to, you could print charts for any possible meetings you might have. If you want to learn more about this amazing program, go to tuepodcast.net/EA for a 14-day free trial with no credit card needed. That's tuepodcast.net/EA for a 14-day free trial. Try it right now and see what it can do for you. Undiscovered Entrepreneur, episode number 28, The Great. Yep, that's still pretty dumb. Welcome to The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, the podcast where brand new entrepreneurs come to life and could quite possibly be discovered. Join me, DJ Scoob, and the rest of the Scoob Believers as we help these new businesses become a reality. And now, away we go! Salutations, Scoob Believers. Welcome to The Undiscovered Entrepreneur, and you're with me, DJ Scoob. Coming at you on whatever device you happen to be listening on. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta tell you, this is definitely going to be an interesting episode. I'm going to call this the junior episode. That's right. I have an entrepreneur here that is probably one of the most amazing people I've ever talked to. Some fantastic information in the NFT realm, which is something I have yet to even think about diving into yet. But he has a lot of great information. He's very articulate and has a clear view of his authentic self. And here's the kicker, ladies and gentlemen. He's 15 years old. That's right. He's only 15. I met this gentleman in Twitter Spaces and some entrepreneur Twitter Spaces, and I just had to have him on the show, and he said yes, and I'm really excited to have him here. So let's talk to KJ. Salutations, Scoop Believers, and we are again here with our next great entrepreneur. We're here with KJ. Hey, KJ, how you doing?
Hello, Jesse. I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I am fantastic. Thank you so much for being Undiscovered Entrepreneur. I got to tell you, this is really amazing for me because you got to just tell us right up front. How old are you, KJ?
I'm 15 years old.
15 years old and an entrepreneur. That's just absolutely fantastic. Being only 15, that's amazing. So, what I'd like you to do, if you could, is just tell us a little bit about yourself, how long you've actually been in your entrepreneur adventure, and what actually made you get started.
Sure. So, I'm 15, as I said earlier. I've been in this NFT business for about like say 8 to 9 ish months. I started January, so I could say like yeah, pretty much 8 to 9 ish months. But my parents were always investing in me and finding new ways to, have me do something that I love for the future. That's something that they always wanted for their children, is for them to, have their children do something that is worth their while. So I got put in a bunch of different programs like piano. It didn't really stick with me. I had some stuff like basketball, which was pretty fun, but I couldn't see myself doing it from a professional standpoint as of right now because I do have to level up my skill. But there were two things that actually did stick with me, which was coding and art. So what they did, they found new ways to enhance my coding, like knowledge. Coding was something that was mandated in the state of Massachusetts for schools, so I automatically had that put into my curriculum, and it's something that I truly enjoyed, which is why in freshman year I had so much fun in it. I tried to go to honors computer science, which I think was pretty nice, but I ended up transferring to a trade school instead. So, yeah, I did take some classes on how to code and do stuff like that. And on my own time, I did end up learning Solidity, which is how I ended up coding my smart contracts. Speaking of art, that is something that I was self-taught. Me personally, I never like taking art classes because I feel like it limits me on what to do. Like I go on YouTube whenever I have to search up new techniques for like shading and stuff like that. But I don't like being told what to do when it comes to my art. I want to let my imagination run wild. That's why I, pretty much do it on my own, hands. And it was at the age of 11 that I actually started taking art seriously. But way before that, I was just doodling. I never took it seriously. So it was at the age of 11 where I got my first sketchbook, and it was something that I really enjoyed doing, and I would just draw in my free time. Fast forward, I think a couple years, and it's last year that I found out about NFTs. I thought it was kind of like a joke, like why would somebody be paying so much money for your art? But then I saw this awesome 13-year-old artist, and her name is Nyla Collection. She's actually an inspiration to me. Um, she ended up making, millions of dollars from her art, which I thought was pretty inspirational and cool. I really wanted to start it, but I didn't have the necessary equipment to do it yet. So, fast forward Christmas time, I get an iPad and an Apple Pencil, and I start doing it myself. I do some research on, how to upload your first NFT. And it was something that was pretty fine with me because, I'm like this big tech geek type of guy. Like everybody comes to me when it comes to like, what phone should I get? What tablet is best? And that's something that my family members ask me a lot. So it was, pretty easy to suppress, create, and just list my own stuff. It was a rocky journey though.
Wow, what a story. That's amazing. The first thing I'd like to touch on is, and this is probably the most important thing, having supportive parents. Your parents saw that you had a skill. They saw that they could help you along with your entrepreneurial adventure by giving you the knowledge and the capability to move on with your entrepreneur adventure. And it's so great to have the supportive parents to be able to kind of move on with what you want to do. I know a lot of parents out there will want to suppress what their kids are doing because they want to conform them and they want them to be a certain way and go into society a specific way. But having the parents that will support you in what you're doing, in your art, in your coding, and your NFTs, that's so great. The other thing too is I learned how to podcast by YouTube, so I'm with you on that one for sure.
Yeah.
I never went to school to learn how to podcast or how to do any of the technical stuff. I just found it on YouTube. It's almost gotten to the point where I even had a gentleman on my episode 3 said that school probably isn't as important as it used to be anymore because it really doesn't teach us the life skills that are now current. So I'm not counting out school. School is very important, but there's a lot of things that school doesn't teach us we learn on our own.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, KJ. All right. So my next question is, and you kind of touched on this a little bit, but what actually made you start your NFT business? I know you have the art and you got the equipment, but I mean, really, what was the catalyst that got things started for you?
So, we were talking some things out. As I said, I had my sketchbook. One thing that I would always draw a lot was my robots, which were based on Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics. Like, anything that I draw, it's super good game, by the way. Anything I draw is always original. Like, I never would draw something that already exists. I would always use my imagination. Like, yeah, I would pull up a screen for a reference, but I wouldn't draw a character that's already there because it just felt weird to me. I also draw cars too. Like all those cars that I draw, they don't exist. And I made this decision since I was a child to go to MIT so that would do my car company career. Like I could make my own car company because none of the cars that I have technically exist yet. And I'm trying to for automotive tech for my trade school so that way I could get into that program so I could actually know the interior of the car, like, what actually matters inside. So by me not creating anything, by me creating something that didn't exist, my parents were like, you do those robots a lot. And as you said, they're not pretty much based on anything that's already there except for like the concept. Why not just make an NFT with that? My parents and me, we were new to this stuff. Like, it was kind of new. We didn't know what we were doing at the moment. So we did ended up, just posting it and finding a way to just like, make yourself pop out there. Usually a lot of people, what they do, they make a following first, they gather community first, but we went the other route. We just created it and make a community after, which, we were new. We didn't have any knowledge on what to do with this, but that's pretty much how I got started on my first collection.
That's amazing. Yeah, inspiration is a lot different than copying. I mean, you get inspiration from things. I get a lot of inspiration from other podcasters in doing what I'm doing, but I'm not doing exactly what they're doing. I put my own mix into it, and it sounds like you did the same thing with the Five Nights. And I'm a Five Nights at Freddy fan, just so you know. Me and my son love playing. Throw that out there.
I can't wait for well, it's not really the next one. It's the DLC that's coming out for Security Breach. It's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, my son's definitely looking forward to that as well, too. But you take the inspiration of those characters and kind of put your own mishmash in it and make it your own. And that's what inspiration is about. You're taking something and making it your own. So that's fantastic. Community is huge. I did the same thing as you when it comes to community. So we're kind of on the same path as far as that goes. I made the podcast first and then building around the podcast, where you're right. A lot of other people will do it the other way around. I haven't figured out how they do it the other way around, which is probably why I did it this way. But having a community around you is fantastic and important to have. That way you have people to talk to, people to inspire you, and people to learn from. So that's fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right. So you're 15 years old, and I can't believe I'm going to be asking this question. So what are some of the pitfalls and problems you've had getting started in the NFT world? Can you explain that to me a little bit?
Definitely can. So one thing I talk about only online pretty much. I don't talk about this in my personal life, but I have ulcerative colitis, and that's like an environmental disease kind of. So like it's inflammation of the colon, but it's not just what you eat that affects you. It's like stress, whatever environment you're in. Sometimes it could even be the air quality, like a bunch of stuff plays into that. And I'm sure with NFTs, it does affect your stress in some type of way. Me being a kid, sometimes I'm going to be completely honest. I try to be as patient as possible, but with that kid mentality that I have, you just want things to happen quick. And I get stressed when I see stuff is not selling. But the way that I rerouted myself to actually, not stress too much over that is that I teach myself that connections are way more important than sales. And with that, I was able to not only calm myself down, but be able to develop really meaningful connections with some awesome people. But that isn't the only problem. Stress isn't the only problem. Of course, I have school that I recently just started. I'm a sophomore now. So as you can imagine, it's not just ABCs and 2+2 and stuff like that. So I try to get one thing I did, I would usually finish my homework at lunch or, whatever break time that they had. So that way, as soon as I come home, I would just be able to, go into like work mode, like go right into business pretty much. I would hop on Twitter Spaces and do all that stuff. So that is one of them. Another thing that happened to me was that I actually got hacked. My MetaMask got hacked
Aw.
because of somebody pretending. There's a lot of impersonators out there. Somebody was pretending to be, a big company, and it's not like the typical, oh, press this link and get your free mint. No, it was actually they target artists, and what they do is they say that they want to do a collab with you. And I do 2D work, I do 3D work. And with 3D work, if you ever want to do a collab with somebody, you actually have to send them over the file. So I didn't think much of it. And they gave me like this too good to be true story, and they sent me the files so that way I could edit it. And next thing I knew, I got hacked, and it took me a long time. My first collection did have 7.8 ETH traded on that. Like, that's what it displayed. But since I got hacked and all the money would be going to the hacker, I had to go and create another collection of that first collection. I did a lot of reworking on the previous collection that said, this is a hacked account, wait for V2. But it showed up as like 0 sales made and 0 ETH traded. It just looked like I was giving a bunch of my stuff away, which, as you can imagine, would kind of take away a lot of opportunities from me. Right now I have 2 ETH traded, which is pretty cool. I'm really excited and happy that people kept sticking with me, and I love my community so much. I love my supporters, and I don't really call them supporters that much. I would more refer them as my friends, because I do develop connections, as I was saying earlier, and I try to talk to them and get to know them a little bit more.
Wow, what a wealth of information. That is amazing. You went through so much in just a short amount of time of your life. That's fantastic. Making connections and networking to other people, once again, is a fantastic and very important. Have you heard, I know you're young, but you might have heard this already, of your zone of genius. Have you heard of that at all?
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, so there's a book called The Big Leap, and I'm a very big advocate of this book because it changed my life. And it talks about how you work in your own zone of genius and how you find it. Written by Gay Hendricks, and I'm actually it's going to be my episode 25, and I'm doing my first solo on your zone of genius and how to find it. So I would suggest, because you have a zone of genius, I could tell, because as soon as you go, what you told me was you come home from school and you get into a zone, or within those words. That zone is your zone of genius. So I would definitely suggest reading that book. It's definitely was a life changer for me. And I think you being so young, getting that information at this time of your life would be fantastic. So I have that, actually. I'll send a picture of it to you so you know what the book looks like. And everybody else, if you want to get that book, I do have it on my website under my resources page. Take a look. I'm sorry you got hacked. Man. It's really rough having to kind of start over again with something like that. But it sounds like you really made it for the better for yourself. Even though you got hacked and had that problem, it turned out to be better.
Yeah, in a way it did turn out to be better in a way. There's one thing that, I forgot to tell people is that, sometimes there are a lot of fake promises in this thing. Like, I remember when I got hacked, a bunch of people would go on their Twitter, and I get it, it's for engagement. But at a time like that, a bunch of people were like, oh, I'll give this to you. And it ended up never happening. It was something that was constantly happening. So I just kept my expectations low for everything. But yeah, it ended up being for the better. Now I know how to protect myself from it. And I took all the security measures that I possibly could. And, I could sleep well knowing that I'm not at risk for getting hacked. Well, not a high risk, pretty much.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's still tough to kind of sniff them out and make sure that they're all good. But yeah, at least you have that experience now. You know what to look for. You know what the red flags are for the most part. So that's good. All right. So once again, you're 15, but do you have any influences or people that you look up to or people you idolize? I know you talked about one person. I can't remember their name. What was their name again?
Nyla Hayes from
Nyla Hayes. Yes, yeah. Absolutely. So besides Nyla Hayes that you were talking about earlier, do you have anybody you look up to? Anybody that keeps you moving forward?
So art-wise, I would say Scott Cawthon, because he's the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's. That was like the first things that I could say I ever drew. and I moved on to cars. So after I moved on to cars, like my favorite brand was Lamborghini. So I looked up to Ferruccio Lamborghini because, the story of how he came up was pretty, cool and awesome. Like he was dissatisfied with company that he was driving his car. It was a sports car, Ferrari. When he consulted Ferrari, Ferrari pretty much said, you're a tractor driver, just focus on tractors. You shouldn't be saying anything. And next thing you know, he created his car company and look where he is now. I mean, he is dead, but he left a big legacy behind, which I think is pretty inspirational. Like if you see something's wrong, fix it, make it better, or, make your own. And I thought that was pretty awesome. So that's what I could say for car wise and like, my career. And for I would say inspiration for I also draw people too, because I have like 3 collections. I would say some animation styles from like anime. I would say like the Boondocks when it comes to my drawings of people is how I pretty much get my style. So for drawing, yeah, pretty much
Yeah.
a lot. A lot of
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I've watched the Boondocks. Okay. So, I think that's the one thing that actually sticks out here in my mind when you say these things is when somebody says no, you still do it anyway. You know what I mean? It's like you can't do this, so you go do it. And I think that's kind of the inspiration that a lot of us take as entrepreneurs is when somebody says no, I'll show you I can do it, and then you go do it. So that's
Probably why I've never talked about it in like my school life. Like I live 2 completely different worlds from at school and at home because nobody knows I'm doing this right now. I just say I travel a lot and I happen to be a motivational speaker because I do travel a lot. I think my 4th event is going to be in London, so I'm pretty stoked for that. But yeah, a lot of people were like, "Oh, there's no use to NFTs. Like, it's bad for the environment." But Solana's there. Solana runs our energy. I'm sure that's more efficient. But it's art. You're buying art. It's useless. But you still buy stuff on Roblox. You still pay for money on V-Bucks, right? It's not something that really has too much utility into it. It's not a new concept at all. So I was like, you know what? You'll see. Whenever something happens, you'll know that it's not as useless as you think it is. And yeah.
and there you go. All right. So, you being so young, I know I keep bringing this up. I'm just so excited that I'm talking to somebody that's just seems so pronounced with themselves and so authentic with themselves at such a young age. But when will you know you've made it? When will you think you've gotten to that point where this is exactly where I want to be in my life? What does that look like to you? And that's got to be interesting.
Really, this is, there's a question with like a lot of answers. When you could lie down and know that, you're making passive income regularly, like there's just money flowing in, everything that you've invested in is just creating wealth and income for like your legacy. That's how I know that I'll be able to make it. And I haven't yet reached that point yet. There's going to be a long time until you make it. Like you have to find the right connections. You have to find the right people. It's not just about, hey, I have $1 million. Okay, after $1 million runs out, then what? You have to have that current income just flowing in and flowing in. And that when that happens, that's when I'll know like, hey, I've made it. I'm financially stable. I have enough money to invest in other stuff. I have enough money to give out comfortably without feeling some type of way. Because one thing I like to do a lot is I love to give back to the community. Like with one of my projects, I'm giving back to St. Jude's because I have ulcerative colitis and art was just my escape. So I'm sure many of the kids who are in St. Jude's could probably agree that art was their escape too. But, the thing is, if you're not creating constant income, then, you could donate $5, $10, and that's it. That's not where I want to stop at. I want to actually give enough money, a percentage of what I'm making. I want it to go away too to people who actually need it, because there's a lot that you can do with $1 million. There's a lot you could do with $10 million. I'm not going to sit here and say that I can spend over $1 billion without giving it back. And that's one thing that I think is really nice. Like sitting and thinking that, hey, I did this. I really helped somebody out. It makes me feel nice. So yeah, that's how I know that I've made it in a way.
Being able to give back to the community, being able to give back to the church that you're talking about, or giving back to the research and everything like you were talking about just a minute, being able to reach that point is just fantastic. And, you're right. We want to be comfortable as ourselves, as our human selves. And then anything after that, you want to kind of give back to thank the people for supporting you and helping you move along your entrepreneurial adventure. So that's fantastic.
That's one thing I said to my family all the time, because I have one of those supportive families out there. Like when I flew out to LA, I live all the way in Massachusetts, as I said earlier. When I went to LA for my presentation in NFT Expoverse at a panel, my aunts came, my uncles came, my cousins came. Like it was just this big, giant fiesta. And in one of my supporters who who I can really call my dear friend / brother, actually came as well. Like I've never met him in person until that event. And I felt like that was so amazing, so inspirational. So, I've said to my family many times, I'm going to make it up to you. I'm going to give back to you. And they're always like, no, there's no worries. I did it because I want to see you prosper. But in reality, I want to give back, and I want to make sure that they're set for life too.
Yeah, they get you that warm, fuzzy feeling instead of knowing that you've helped out after everything you've put out for yourself. Now let's give it to other people.
Absolutely.
All right. So, and this is going to be a very interesting question for me, but if you met someone that wants to take the same entrepreneur adventure as you in the NFT world and things of that nature, what steps would you have them take? What advice would you give them?
So, the funny thing about that is I actually do tutor kids. So that's really funny because I teach them how to, do 3D sculpting. And I also teach them how to make smart contracts. So that way they could, they don't have to rely on a middleman or a person. So, there's a lot of steps I would tell you to take. But really, I'd say just keep pushing no matter what. I know that seems really vague. So I'm going to give you an explanation as to why you shouldn't keep pushing. I've said this in some spaces. A lot of people, that can include entrepreneurs, or that can include people who gamble. Either way, a lot of them quit right before they're going to make it. So for the entrepreneurial one, we're gonna focus on that. If you're gambling, you should probably stop right now. It's for the better. But for a lot of entrepreneurial people, they quit right before they make it, and it's like, why? Come on, you could have made it. You have a genius invention in your hand. You have a genius product in your hand, and you just stop it. So you shouldn't stop it. And also, work your craft, practice your craft. I used to be I used to have really good roller skating skills, and I stopped for a while, 2 years, 3 years, never skated again. And as soon as I went right back to it, I just was tumbling all over the place, and it was kind of embarrassing. So, never stop doing what you're doing. Like if you have a good product, if you have something that's good, keep pushing it because it will pay off in the future. As I said earlier, it's not just about sales, it's about connections. And number 2, practice your craft. There are definitely ways you can better it. I know my art is not perfect. I know there's definitely ways I could fix my stuff to become better and to become, the better version of me. But one thing I never talk about with connections is the fake promises. I don't want to be pessimistic here, but keep your expectations low. There are people who will make a lot of fake promises. And if you keep stressing over, when is this person going to do this? When is this person going to do that? You're just going to get stressed and you're going to end up quitting. So if you keep your expectations low, when I see it, I'll believe it. You'll go far because honestly, relying on yourself is the best thing that you could do.
Absolutely. Actions do speak louder than words. People can promise things all they want, but until we actually see what's going to be happening and let's see it actually happen, we're kind of like, okay, well, yeah, that's nice. It's the same thing for me. I have a certain amount of followers, but not every one of those followers are listeners to my podcast. So it's kind of the same idea there too.
Absolutely.
Okay. So here's my favorite question, and I kind of stole it from another podcast, so sorry, everybody. All right, so what is the one question you wish I would have asked you, but I didn't? I always miss one really good question, and my guest says, I wish he would have asked that question because I had a perfect answer for it. What is that one question?
I I have to think about that because I think I did answer a lot of questions. You know, I guess what are some things that you wish you knew beforehand? And that kind of ties in with the advice. The things that I wish I knew beforehand, I ended up saying it in advice. Don't get your hopes up. Keep pushing, keep continuing. Many times I felt like I've just wanted to just plain quit. But then I would make a sale. And that kind of ties in back to, don't quit because there could be something meaningful happening. Every time I would get discouraged, right? Something meaningful would happen just to keep me pushing. Like, oh, this is a sign. Just keep pushing. You'll make it some way, somehow. That's kind of how I've lived regarding my NFT journey. So, but yeah, this is one piece of advice I also forgot to say. Not everything's a competition. I see a lot of people in this industry, they compete a lot and they compare a lot. And when you compete and compare with somebody, it brings your happiness down. Like if you focus on yourself and you compete and compare with yourself, you'll not only become a better person, but you'll actually be a lot more positive. This is something that I see in the space a lot. Like people just compete and compare with people. It's kind of degrading, honestly. Like it gets annoying sometimes when you see somebody who's always trying to compete or compare with you.
Those are some great words. And actually, I've touched on that a couple of times on my last couple of podcasts. Don't compare yourself to somebody else or somebody that's taking that journey and is already there. Compare yourself to a week ago. Compare yourself to a month ago. Compare yourself to a year ago if you've done it for a year. That way you can see what progress that you actually have made in your entrepreneur adventure. And it kind of gives you a springboard into the future where you can actually go with what you're doing.
Absolutely.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So what I like to do with my guests is get a 6-month goal. So in the next 6 months, where do you see you and your company?
I definitely see some meaningful connections happening. I definitely see something like going to happen. And I see myself teaching other kids, a lot with, what I'm doing. One goal I want to have for myself is to actually speak in hospitals. Like, yeah, speaking in public spaces and speaking in schools are pretty great. But, I actually want to give the people in the hospitals a great hope too, because 2 years ago, I was really close to losing my colon. And my parents saw that I was borderline depressed. Like I wasn't happy. I wasn't eating. I was just there. Like I was just this entity just in the corner of a room. And they didn't really like that. So I know there's a lot of kids out there who are in hospitals, sometimes even by themselves because their parents are working their butts off trying to, support the family and like support what's going on with their bills and stuff like that. So that's one thing I want to do. I want to speak in like children's hospitals, so that way I could give them a glimmer of hope in some way.
Wow. I actually, now that you mention it that way, I'm going to put you in touch with a woman named Barbara. And she was, I can't remember what episode she was on right off the top of my head, but she does healing headbands. And what she does is she actually goes to different children's hospitals and teaches them the power of laughter and the healing power of laughter. You might be able to do a collaboration with her and be able to, maybe she can have you like put you in touch with some hospitals that she's already touched base with. And maybe you can do some speaking engagements at some of the hospitals she's already been with. I'll put you in touch with her on Twitter.
Please.
Yeah, we'll see if we can get you two together on a collab, and maybe something will come out of it.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think that's an awesome idea. Thank you.
For sure. All right, so what I'd like to do with you, KJ, in the next 6 months, I want to touch base with you again and have another podcast just like we're doing now, and to see if you've actually reached those 6-month goals. Is that going to be okay with you?
Sure.
All right. All right, KJ, thank you so much for being on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur. It's been an absolute blast. I love what you're doing, and I love where you're going, and we're going to talk to you in the next 6 months, okay?
Sounds awesome. See you in the next. Well, I'll probably see you sooner than that, but in terms of.
Yeah, absolutely. So do me a favor, just real quick before we go. If anybody wants to get a hold of you or have any questions for you or wants to check out your artwork, where would they go? This is your time to shine, KJ. Can you tell us how to get a hold of you?
Sure, no problem. So to see my art and to see all my socials, you can go on Twitter and Instagram in search of K_J Robots Co. That's K_J ROBOTSCO. And through my bio, you'll see my link tree and you'll be able to access all three of my collections there. But I did say something about, the collection where I'm actually giving back to animals and children. I didn't mention the animals part, but if you go on the website trenchpets.com, so TRENCHPETZ.com, you'll be able to mint your trench pet today and support kids and animals. And I think that's pretty awesome. So, yeah.
All right. KJ, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll see you in 6 months, okay?
See you in 6 months.
All right. Thank you, Scuba Lavers. Thank you for listening all the way through. Stay tuned for the wrap-up, okay? Goodbye, everybody. All right, Scuba Believers, that was KJ. It's just amazing to talk to a 15-year-old and be that articulate and so sure of himself about what he's doing and what he's trying to accomplish. I can't believe it. It was just so awesome. I really feel bad that he got hacked. So you really got to kind of look out for things like that. You can't always trust everybody that's out there. You got to be kind of particular about how you talk to people and make sure they're actually authentic with what they're trying to accomplish to help you out. Do your research, do the Google searches, whatever, to make sure that they're actually legitimate and being able to help you out without hacking you. But like I said, he's really kind of coming back up again, and he's doing really good for himself. And I was really surprised how he said he was going to be doing a presentation too later on. That was pretty awesome. He had some great advice about pushing forward. And I think I've talked about it a couple of times where you want to just keep moving forward, even though if you're having a tough time accomplishing things, that might be the one time you actually finish that goal or get over that problem, and then you break out right after that. Kind of like if you're digging for gold, and if you would have shoveled one more shovel, the gold would have been right there. And that's what I always think about in times like that as I'm going along my entrepreneur adventure. Also, keeping expectations low. That was very interesting to come from him, but you really kind of can't depend on everybody else and keeping it high and waiting for other people to accomplish something before you could accomplish something for yourself. That's been one of my pet peeves in life, is waiting for somebody else to do something before you can accomplish something. I hate waiting for other people. So I just kind of do it myself. And that's been serving me okay so far. So, and if anybody wants to get a hold of KJ, see any of his works of art, any of his NFTs, which I know nothing about. Learned a little bit about it, but don't know too much about it. Make sure to look in the show notes for his contact information and see what he has going on there. I think he has some great aspects for his future. And I hope he keeps going the way he's going. So I'm going to talk a little bit here about some more 5-star reviews that actually came in. I've been getting a lot of these lately, so I'm really excited to be able to share that that they're coming in. So I just want to take this particular time to thank health_coach, S800C, Meatloaf the Piercer, Viking Dad D20, and $Kitty World $. All great people that gave me 5-star reviews about my podcast. Thank you so much. I want to make sure I mention your name out here just to give you a shout out and a thank you for giving me 5 stars on my podcast. All right, so I've been wanting to try this a little experiment here, and I need your help doing this. So if you go to my website at uapodcast.net, there's a microphone on there. I want to try to fill in those times between weeks that I'm not podcasting, and I'm only able to do probably only a few minutes at a time. So what I have to do with that few minutes is answer any questions that you might have about your entrepreneur adventure. So if you go to my website, uepodcast.net, and click on that microphone, you can actually send me a voicemail. on that microphone and ask me that question. If I come across your question, I would like to use that question on my podcast and just take a quick couple minutes and seeing what I could do about answering that question. Go to my website, click on the microphone, ask me a question, and there's a good chance I'll feature you on my in-between shows. I guess I haven't really figured out exactly how to call it or what to name it or anything like that, but definitely going to find a way to fill in that gap. It just seems like I'm losing out a little bit there, and it's kind of space that I can use to help people. So that's what we're going to do. And finally, it looks like my 1-year anniversary for my podcast is coming up. So on November 8th, my anniversary is actually November 7th, but that's a Monday. So we want to do podcasting on Tuesday. So on November 8th, we're going to do a really, really special type of podcast. I'm really looking forward to showing it to y'all. Make sure you subscribe and like and do all that good stuff so you could follow me into my 1-year anniversary. All right, so if anybody wants to get a hold of me, you're more than welcome to on Twitter at DJ Scoob. That's SKOOB 2021. You could reach me at uepodcast2021 at gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook. I am Scoob. If you want to follow me on TikTok, I am DJ Scoob 2021. If you want to see any of the resources that we've talked about today, look at my show notes, or you can go to my resources page on my website. And please take a couple minutes to go to my website. Leave me a question about your entrepreneur adventure. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and y'all have a great day, okay? Hello there, DJ Scoob here. And I just want to personally say thank you for listening to my program. I really hope you learned something. Tune in 2 weeks to listen to another brand new entrepreneur. And remember, I can, I am, I will, and I'm doing it today.
Español.
Español. That's Spanish. Okay.
Inglés.
English. That is English.
Sí, yo hablo español.
Sí, yo hablo español. Yes, I speak Spanish.
Yo hablo inglés.
Yo hablo inglés. All right. Yo hablo español.
Juan, ¿tú hablas inglés?
Juan, do you speak English? Ooh, all right.
¿Tú hablas español?
¿Tú habla español? All right. Doing good here. Hola, hablo inglés? No lo siento. All right.
¿Tú hablas inglés?
¿Tú habla inglés? All right.
Disculpe, por favor.
Disculpe, por favor. Let's see, let's try. Excuse me, please. Ooh, all right. So, disculpe is excuse me. Huh. All right. All right. Tap the matching pairs. Spanish is español.
Español.
Girl is niña.
Niña.
Bread is pan.
Pan.
Hello is hola.
Hola.
And I am is soy.
Soy.
Yeah. How do you say excuse me? Disculpe.
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 Disculpe. Right there.
Disculpe.
Yes.
Disculpe.
Disculpe. All right.
Disculpe.
Disculpe. Excuse me. You could definitely tell it's a new word. All right. We did it. As a worker of 2 full-time jobs, running a podcast and coaching, every minute counts in my day-to-day. It's hard to be consistent in any of my social medias. And at this point, I cannot hire a social media manager. Pinnacle AI to the rescue! I've been using Pinnacle AI for a couple of weeks now and seeing big improvements in my outreach and consistency in all my social medias. Do you want to save time and increase your productivity too? Go to tuepodcast.net/AI for more information. Save yourself time and grow your brand. Try it now and see what it can do for you. Hello, Scoob Believers. Let me ask you a real quick question. How many cups of coffee have you had today? 3, 5, 7? And let me guess, you've got a Red Bull in the other hand just in case, right? Yeah, I see you. Now, here's the truth bomb nobody wants to hear. You're not building a business. You're building a caffeine dependency. Listen, I get it. When you're grinding 12, 14, 16-hour days, you're building something from nothing. When you've got payroll to meet, investors to impress, and visions that won't wait. You need fuel. But what if I told you that the fuel that you're using is actually slowing you down? What if the very thing that you think is keeping you sharp is actually making you dull? Enter Rise Coffee. This isn't your grandma's mushroom tea. This isn't some hippie wellness trend. This is science meets performance. And here's what makes Rise different. Less than half the caffeine of a regular cup of coffee. But here's the kicker. You won't miss it. 6 organic powerhouse mushrooms, including cordyceps, what Olympic athletes use, and lion's mane, what Silicon Valley biohackers swear by. Sustained energy that doesn't spike and crash. We're talking smooth, clean power from morning to moonlight. Crystal clear focus without the jitters. Imagine closing the deal with calm, confident mind instead of the caffeine chaos. Gut health and immune support, because what's the point of building an empire if you're too sick to enjoy it? So here's the challenge to you. Stop borrowing energy from tomorrow. Stop running on fumes and call it a hustle. Stop wearing your caffeine addiction like a badge of honor. Real entrepreneurs optimize, real entrepreneurs adapt, real entrepreneurs win. You can't win if you're crashing at 2 p.m. while your competition is just getting started. Break the cycle. Head to risesuperfoods.com right now and use code PODNA15 for 50% off your first order. That's PODNA15 for 15% off. Try it for 30 days. If you don't feel the difference, if you don't feel sharper, calmer, more focused, more alive, then go back to your 6-a-day cup habit. But I'm telling you, we won't, because once you feel what real energy feels like, you'll never go back. Ditch the addiction, fuel your empire, and rise up. Rise Coffee, energy that builds, not burns.